Hi, I'm Danger Dan Jers, the host and GM of the D&D Real Play podcast, D & Dark. Join us on Wednesdays for an absurd, over-the-top comedy horror adventure, starring some of history's most infamous monsters.
I'm Ben Magnet. I play Mary Frankenstein, our barbarian.
I am Daniel Cruz. I am playing Imhotep the Mummy, our cleric.
I'm Jordan, and I play Larry Talbot, a lycanthropic warlock.
I am Grayson, playing Jet Griffin, the Invisible Man, the party's rogue.
I am Aaron. I play the Phantom of the Opera, our bard.
For more information, go to dndarkpodcast.com and listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is Davis with Con Freaks and Geeks, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of Pop Culture Gems. This is a series where we talk to amazing creators, artists, cosplayers, voice actors, and more. If you like the interviews we do with amazing guests, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the CFG channel, or you can listen to it on any podcast services out there. And if you want to check out all the fantastic geeky content in one area, you can always check out our main website, confreaksandgeeks.com, for the whole package. My guest this episode is a beast in the voice acting world with over 300 credits under her name. She has played so many memorable roles in gaming and animes. She is the voice of Lucy Heartfelia in Fairy Tail, Asuna Yuki from Sword Art Online, Makoto Nijima from Persona 5, Persona Royal, Persona Strikers, and the most recently announced series Sakura Shinjuji in Sakura Wars, the animation. But I like to remember her as one of the characters in one of my favorite shows growing up, Little Orphan Girl in Walker, Texas Ranger. I would like to welcome Cherami Leigh to the show. How are you doing, Cherami?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. Also, I when you said I was a beast, I was like, I didn't realize until that moment how much I had always wanted to be called a beast. That was like so exciting for me. So thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I just love it. That's what's gonna have to be in your biography on like behind the voices. It'll be like Cherami Beast. that would be awesome.
Sure, great, love it. I'm all about it.
That's awesome. So I'm hoping I'm glad you're I hope you're having a great day. I hope everything is going straight with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You as well. I know it's quite cold where you are.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it's like AC broke, so that's my luck. So hopefully get that fixed soon.
You start seeing, it like air coming out of your mouth. You're like, no, I'm not on location. This is not a green screen of indoors, and I'm recording outside. This is just how cold it is in my apartment right now.
Just how fun it is. It's just like a scenario in like Phasmophobia or something. I don't know.
Oh, man. It's keeping us on our toes, always.
Always. But let's get right into it, man. So I always say this the first question for everybody. Like, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, who is Cherami Leigh?
Oh no, I feel like that is a lifelong journey and pursuit to find out like who you are, and it's constantly changing. I have been an actor since I was 5 professionally. And I have always wanted to be an actor for as long as I can remember. So that's been a big part of my life. Enjoying the business, being, I would say, probably a little bit obsessed with learning everything I possibly can about all aspects of the business. I love this industry. I'm fascinated by this industry, which people say, you're a little bit of a workaholic. And I'm like, well, when your passion and your hobby and the thing that you love to do is your job, then yeah, you got to find ways to break that up. I love spending time with my family, which has been a little hard in this current situation, but I'm very, very close with my family. I love meditating, doing yoga, dancing, creating. This is something that I started doing during quarantine because I have always wanted to do this and I enjoy doing it, but I've never had the time or I've never made the time. So now I'm making the time to build tiny little doll houses and little miniature things. Oh, so wow. That has become a very strange new hobby that I have picked up in quarantine as well.
A strange new hobby. Is that when you say that, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you remember, there's the arts and crafts stores like Michael's and stuff in the back. They have those weird, creepy doll houses and stuff in the back.
I've ordered these like little kits, and you can make a tiny little greenhouse or a tiny little coffee shop. I didn't realize the intricacy. Like, I have to cut out little leaves and glue the little leaves together on this wire. I mean, it's going to take a long time till it's done, but I love little tiny things.
I mean, hey, I guess it's meant to take time, I guess, to keep
I
it.
guess
Just like
so. Patience.
Just like a 5,000 piece puzzle or something, it's always going to be something.
I guess it's probably some sort of strange metaphor for life, in that you will see the finished product, but it's going to take a lot of patience, a lot of diligence. You got to like push through things maybe not working out one day, and just know it's not every piece is going to be perfect, but at the end you're going to have a beautiful little project that you created that you can look at and enjoy. But it is not easy all the time.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It just sounds kind of fun though. Like, I mean, when you're building stuff like that, so I can easily, it makes sense. It makes sense.
I was watching a football game a couple weeks ago, and when things were getting a little dicey during the football game, I was like, I'm going to go make little tiny things of wire to distract myself. And then I'll have the game in the background, and then I'll go back and watch the game when things don't give me so much stress. So
fair enough.
It's been an interesting process.
Oh, okay. You're not like a Cowboys fan or anything like that, are you? Like,
I am a Packers fan. My dad is from Wisconsin, and my mom and he met when she went to college at University of Wisconsin-Madison. But I grew up in Dallas. So I would say the Cowboys are probably my number 2 team. I got to perform at a couple halftime shows for the Cowboys at like Thanksgiving. The halftime show, my studio would go dance on the field.
Cool.
I think they would have to be my number 2 team because of that.
No, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, before voice acting, you were like a radio DJ on Radio Disney for a while. Yeah. And were you a Disney kid growing up, or if so, like, what was your top? Did you have a top 3?
Absolutely, I was a Disney kid. I remember auditioning for Radio Disney and being a kid DJ. We got to go in and do promos and do all these things. And then I did get to have my own show when I was 19. Certainly growing up with the company. And I've worked for the company. Radio Disney as a station is unfortunately coming to an end later this month. It was a casualty of the pandemic, unfortunately. But I was in the first commercial when they launched the station. I was one of the first voices on the air for the station, and I've stayed with them throughout its entire existence, which is really, really cool. And of course, I was a Disney kid. I love Disney. I would say even more than being a Disney kid and loving the movies, I've been such a fan of the creativity of Walt Disney and what he was able to create. And that legacy is very, very interesting and could not have been easy. Favorite movies. My mom said the first one I saw in theaters was Ariel. Yes. You said when you think about what?
Oh, I was just sorry. Yeah, when I think about it, it's kind of like the mixture with like what Disney built. It was kind of like there was an awesome documentary I actually watched about like Walt Disney and stuff. But then you see the behind the scenes of him, and like he was basically a visionary, kind of like Steve Jobs visionary kind of levels. And but it was also kind of with the strong help of his brother as well, like Roy Disney. And I'm just like, that is like, who would have thought that this scenario of a guy who like from the South decides to make this kind of contribution to like history, like, movie history. It's incredible. So.
Well, and it's amazing just with the Imagineers and with his brother, you would think you're Disney, that would foster like, and I'm sure it did to a certain degree, but a need to control everything. And he seemed to be very open with, I know this is not my expertise, so I'm going to find people and give them the place to, give their creativity, give me these ideas. I, like you said, have this vision, and I need these people to execute it with their skill set, which is really great to be able to have that ability to delegate and just be open and give them a space to create. But as far as my favorite movies, it's really hard. The first movie my mom said I saw in theaters was Ariel, and she thought I was not going to be able to sit through the whole movie. She said I enjoyed it, but I really was not a fan of Ursula, which has a deeper meaning now that when I lose my voice, it is a really dark time for me and my job. So I guess Ariel would have to be up there as a notable film. Man, favorite growing up as a kid. I loved Mary Poppins. I would quote Mary Poppins all the time.
Yeah.
The weird lines that my family was like, where is she getting this from? Okay. So my favorite Disney princess for the longest time was Belle. So those would be my top three growing up.
With Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like, I've never seen Beauty and the Beast.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how I missed it, but that was one of the, like, I mean, I like Disney. I love Disney afternoons and stuff, but like for some reason, when people tell me it's like about the movies that came in the early '90s, like Aladdin, Little Mermaid, Hercules, all those different ones, somehow I skipped that one.
There's so many films there. That's been one of the things that has been really interesting about Disney Plus is I'll go, what? I don't remember this movie. Like, I'm sure I saw it, but as a child, it just didn't imprint. So that's been fun to get to catch up and see what I missed. And also when you see things as a kid and then watch it as an adult, you experience the movie so differently. So that's always an interesting process.
Because you get now you're cultured and you have ideas of what's happening. It's very funny.
I did not. My mom and I were talking, and she goes, "I watched Pinocchio the other day, and that is a terrifying movie." And I was like, "Well, it was always terrifying." And she was like, "See, I didn't get that before." I was like, "No, I was always horrified, Mom." The idea that if I made a mistake, I could go to like a terrible island of children that were bad. That's terrifying.
I mean, the whole scenario of Pinocchio was pretty freaky because
dark.
It's like it was very dark. Well, first, does anyone talk about the fact that the woodmaker made a doll just to have a kid because he was so lonely? Yeah, I mean, like, come on.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's a level of something that has not been opened up yet. And then on top of that, it's like, the orphanage, the lying, then it's the whale. It's like, there's a lot of series of unfortunate events that happened in that movie. It's a
lot to process. And for a kid to process on top of it is just immense.
Oh my God. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Oh yeah. But I just know the one movie I know I always will love, but I think it's really underrated is a Goofy movie. It's like that one is just so slick. I just love it.
I got to meet the voice actor who plays Max in a Goofy movie. A couple years ago at Dragon Con. Jason. Yeah.
Yes.
He is such a cool dude, and I've been a fan of his work for the longest time. And we were at Dragon Con and we got put on a panel together, and he sat next to me, and I was talking about a cartoon that I loved as a kid, which was Gummy Bears. And then he said, I was actually in Gummy Bears. And I was like, I love you even more now. This is so cool. And he could not have been a kinder, more like friendly, just so accepting, so welcoming, just a delightful person. And he signed an autograph for my husband who couldn't be there that weekend, because I was like, my husband is such a fan of yours, and I got to meet you, and he's going to be devastated that he didn't get to meet you. So he was so kind, and he signed an autograph for my husband, which is right here on our wall.
That's an awesome story there.
Yeah. Great guy.
Awesome. Well, some of the fandoms from some of the characters you played are surreal, just to be short. Since you played a lot of memorable characters, was there a fandom of some that caught you by surprise?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. When I started working at Funimation and I auditioned for Peach Girl, I understood anime as being Pokemon, Sailor Moon, and Dragon Ball Z. I didn't know that that was just like a drop in the bucket. And so I was like, this kind of looks like anime, but it's not one of those 3 shows. And I have now gotten to work in all 3 of those fandoms and all 3 of those worlds in some small capacity, which is amazing. And to get to be a part of Sailor Moon, when I watched it, that was the first anime that I can remember watching. I played Pokemon cards with my brother as something fun that we could do on Saturdays at like comic book shops and Borders and that kind of stuff.
Borders.
And I know, way back in the day, when bookstores used to be a thing. So my husband loves Pokemon and the games and all of that stuff. So it's been really surreal to get to be a part of that when I was a viewer and I was somebody consuming the content as a child, and now I'm on the production side of things. In a different context, I mean, when I started working on Boruto and I found out that I was going to be playing Sarada, I was really intimidated because I wasn't as familiar with the Naruto world. I obviously knew of Naruto and I knew a little bit, but there were so many episodes. The universe is so dense with content and information. And now I'm playing a legacy character. There's even more pressure to know all of this series and all of these little secrets. And Amanda and Robbie and I all had this conversation of saying, we don't want to upset the fans and we don't want to, not be
no pressure.
The legacy. That they would hope for. And so we did as much research as we could. But I think the very first time the Viz team brought us out to San Francisco for the day, they announced us on a podcast, and we were like bracing to see how the fandom would respond. And they were so kind and so welcoming and so supportive, as has every fandom. And I thought, this is amazing. This is a way that I can kind of like jump in and then learn as I go. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure as an actor and that we put on ourselves as people to be perfect and get everything right and do all the right things. Or people will get mad at us. And the one thing that has been true for, I think, anime and video games as a whole, in my personal experience, has been, while I feel like I should be perfect or they're going to get mad, for the most part, everybody has said, do the best that you can. We're just happy. Bring your knowledge, learn as you go. We're just excited that you're excited about what we love, which has been constantly proven to me over and over again. But I still get so anxious and so nervous and feel so much pressure wanting to deliver the absolute best for these fans who've been so loyal and devoted to their favorite franchise and their favorite series. And they're, for the most part, always so kind and supportive.
I'm actually surprised. I was thinking about that. Like, I didn't really think about it this way though, too, because like some of the roles that you've done, you said like you said Boruto, that was kind of big shoes to fill because it's the next generation of something that's been around for over 10 years. Like, I didn't even think there was that level of pressure that you would have that kind of level of pressure for some of these characters. Like, was that the same kind of situation when you were doing Sailor Moon or anything like that too?
I mean, I think, even if it's a show that's just a quick 12-episode show, I had a director. I loved working on the show, and I've said, I know some actors will say like, well, it's not like a huge legacy title. It's really hard to really delve into the universe because it's over in a blip, and you feel like you're missing so much, and they wish there was more. And I remember talking to the director and I said, I'm just like loving this character. I never get to play a character like this. And he said, we have to go into every project, be it a 12-episode series or something that goes for 300 plus episodes, like a fairy tale, like Sailor Moon. Every series is someone's favorite series. And you've got to give 110%, even for that one person, that this is their all-time favorite show, because they deserve to have a dub, or for a game to have a game with somebody that truly cares and gave 110% for them. With Sailor Moon, it was terrifying. I was terrified to audition because there was so much pressure, because I thought, as long as I don't audition and the email sits in my inbox, there's a possibility that I could still be in the show. But as soon as I audition, it's out of my hands. And if they don't think I'm a right fit, then that's kind of where it ends. Luckily, they thought I was a good fit, and I'm incredibly honored and humbled by that decision. And I remember my first session, I just had to do an eye catch where I think it was a Sailor V eye catch, since she shows up later in the show. And I think all I had to say was Sailor V. And then they were going to have me do some bonus background incidental voices for that first session. And I was like, this is so much pressure, because I watched this growing up, and there are voices that came before us, and people loved this and grew up with this. I loved this and grew up with this. And the last thing you want to do is have someone say, really, this is the choice. This ruins my whole life. And the director said, hey, just so you know, this is the note that came back from the creator of Sailor Moon in Japan. She approved all of your voices, and this is what she said about you. And so apparently she had said she heard me slate my name and say Cherami Leigh, and she's like, and I had done a callback for Sailor Moon, so she heard my Sailor Moon audition, and just from me saying my name, she said, that's Sailor Venus. I don't want to hear anybody else. That's Sailor Venus. I don't know where I was in the stack, but once I kind of went, okay, if I've got the stamp of approval from the creator, as we all got the stamp of approval from the creator, there's even more pressure, but there's also kind of like a little hug and a little embrace. It's like, I'm sending you on your way with my blessing. Go forth.
Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome. That's really cool. Wow, that is amazing. And you've done like a ton of work in gaming. Do you ever play any of the games that you've ever, like, done roles in at all?
I do. Look, I will play a little bit of every game. I get very excited. I start the games, and then another game will come out, and I'm like, oh, I got to start this one. You put that one on the shelf. It's how I read books as well. That was my goal for 2021, is to actually like finish a book in its entirety.
I had to stop on that. I had to switch to audiobooks because I can just keep on making like,
I have a stack
it's ADD
by my
moment.
bed. Yes. And you get another book, you're like, oh, this looks so amazing. I'll put this one over here. And then you have a stack of books to choose from. That was how my gaming world worked. I have a stack of games to choose from. Where do I want to jump in? So actually my husband was saying earlier this year, he was like, I love watching TV. I love hanging out with you, but I would love to do like board games or video games or something. And people have said, why don't you stream or play games like online? And I'm not that great at, I'm not a very proficient gamer. I enjoy it, but I'm not amazing.
Like a casual gamer.
Yeah. And so because there are so many great gamers, and I feel like there's still, unfortunately, a stigma. It's getting better. But if you're not a great gamer and you're a female, that for some audiences, they're like, see, girls aren't gamers. And I never want to be perpetuating that stigma for other female gamers that are amazing. So I'm like, I will play casually by myself, and I will make my mistakes where no one can see. But my husband was like, we'll practice and we'll play. So we've been playing Cyberpunk 2077, and we've been playing Persona 5. Persona 5 Strikers is obviously pre-ordered. I have Fire Emblem Heroes on my phone, which is a great way to casually get check into the Fire Emblem universe on your phone. And then I have 3 Houses that I haven't finished, but I have played a little bit. Played a little bit of The Last of Us. Trying to see what is on the stack that You're
really on the big
finished.
stacked list right there.
I love to, and then I play. When I started working at Funimation, I was like, wait, I'm gonna buy a DS. That was like one of my first big girl purchases. I was like, I have a job. I'm gonna buy a DS. So I bought a DS, and I remember I loved playing the Lego games, specifically Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, and that is still a very nostalgic gameplay situation for me. We've played Mario Party. My husband's great at Super Smash Brothers. I am not great at Super Smash Brothers. But it's hard when you work in games to not want to play them, at least just to hear what everybody else sounds like in them. Because I rarely get to hear the other actors that I'm interacting with. Usually I come in, I just hear the reference if we're doing a dub, or I get to talk to the director and he'll read with me. So it's great to get to actually hear my friends and colleagues and their performance and hear it all together. So if I can't play all of the game, it's fun to just like get a little snippet in there.
Just let the listeners know that I know you also did the voice of is it V from Cyberpunk? I haven't played Cyberpunk 2077 yet because I'm waiting for my new computer and stuff. But
sure,
so you're playing a game that's hundreds of hours. Then Persona alone, because we did a review on Persona on our site, and that took I think 200 hours just to beat like everything completely.
Yes,
and it's insane. Which, by the way, I will have to say that's one of my favorites.
I'm so glad.
I always loved Makoto, the character Makoto. She was I hated her initially, but she warmed my heart a little bit later on, so I'll give it that.
What I love about that character, and it was something that I when I got brought in to do Persona, I didn't know who they had me in mind for, and they were explaining all the characters to me, and I was like, man, every single one of these characters is a really cool character. They each have their very clear identity, and what a great what a great smorgasbord of characters to choose from. This is awesome. And with Makoto, there's something about Makoto that I really connected with. In school, I was terrified to get in trouble. I always wanted to do the right thing. I was very anxious, very uptight, very high strung. And all the rules. If I follow all the rules, I won't get in trouble, and I nobody will think that I'm bad. And I still am trying to get over that like people pleasing need to be perfect, because it's an impossible goal to attain. And what I loved about Makoto is she was very much that. Everything was black and white. And then as you play the game, she starts to kind of see the world in color, and that maybe everything is not as clear cut as she has been taught to believe. And I really loved that journey. And it was definitely something that I could relate to, and something like the Phantom Thieves that she thought were just the worst. Maybe they were actually not. And maybe it was just from the lens that she had been taught to view them, or taught to view things. So I really enjoyed that journey.
I love that, like, in Persona, because Persona, I've only played like a couple of them. I'm not really familiar with the Persona world, but when I was playing Persona 5, I just couldn't help but think, like, man, these teenagers have a lot of issues. You're right. I mean, these characters, all the characters have like the introductions of all your characters have like really in-depth stories behind each and every one of them, and it's like,
I'm always confused with anime and video games. Like, are their parents just cool that they're gone all the time? Like, I don't know if my parents would be like, "Hey, where are you? We haven't seen you in Japan days." Yes.
Okay, so I mean, it's like the safest place. So one of my things is just like, I'm just assuming, well, nothing's gonna happen. We might as well just let them do whatever they want to do. Just to make sure they can do their schoolwork. I don't know.
Yeah, but, I don't think my parents were very much. They set boundaries, but of course, like I said, I was a kid who was like, I must stay out of trouble. So they didn't really have to worry about that with me. But they were very chill, very supportive parents. Were happy with me doing whatever I wanted to do. They did set clear boundaries, and I knew what those were. But even that, I don't think that my parents would have been like, it's been 3 days. Are you alive? Cool, just checking in. I don't think they would have been that hands off ever.
You know what? The one thing I've always wondered, though, too, is also like the student council. Like, how much power does the student council have in a high school? You know,
of course.
Yeah, 'cause, like, your introduction of your character is that your principal is saying you need to lead the investigation of who the defendant these are. It's like, are you a detective now? Like, are you part of the police?
I think the biggest responsibility my student council had, at least that I was aware of, was like we got to pick a T-shirt design for our class that year. Like, we never got to like solve crimes. I think I might have been a more active member of the student council had that been the case.
That would be like, wow, you get to do what?
Yeah, I'm in, guys. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh man. So you came into voice acting at a really incredible time. Like professional anime voice acting was just starting slowly, and more shows started to come stateside. Like, I mean, you basically were there at the beginning of the growth of Funimation, essentially, right? Like maybe not at the instant, but more like 3 or 4 years after it was established after DBZ.
Yeah, it
right?
might have been a little bit after that. I started. I don't know actually when Funimation started recording. I believe there was one building before one studio that they were recording at before they got the studio that I started recording at, and now the building that they're currently at, which is a massive space. But yeah, it was a very interesting time, and it's been really exciting and interesting to see how it's grown. I remember when I was in high school, the anime club was just something, I think it was called the Japanese Culture Society. And they would just watch, you would just watch anime, like, you know, on a Thursday, once a week, maybe. And now it's amazing to me that you can go to a mall and there's Sailor Moon t-shirts, Dragon Ball Z t-shirts, the new shows that are out. It's on Netflix. It's all over the place. I remember when I first worked on Peach Girl, and I thought, this is so cool, because I had just graduated from high school. I remember thinking, am I actually going to get to be an actor for my career? I was going to college, but I was kind of thinking, like, is this realistic? Will I continue to work? Because before then I was an actor while I was going to school, but it was something that was like a bonus. Like, if I didn't book a job, that's fine. But now if I'm counting on it to pay bills and take care of my family,
you're all in.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a very difficult time. And right after I graduated from high school, I was 17, and my agent said, I've got to audition for you at this place called Funimation. And I was very intrigued. I went in, worked on Peach Girl, and was having such a great time dubbing, really enjoyed the process of dubbing, never had known that was a thing. Zach Bolton was the director, and he was so kind to teach me how to dub and walk me through the process. And I remember after a session, he said, so we're going to send you out to a convention. You'll sign autographs, promote the show, do a panel. We're going to send you to Boston. And because I was 17, my mom had to come with me, which I'm not 17 anymore. My mom or my husband still comes with me because it's nice to have a buddy. And so I remember getting to Anime Boston and was like, there's like a vendor's hall of all of this anime. And I was buying all of these tiny figures that I just, my threshold at that point of what I purchased was like, is it cute? Do I love it? Yeah. Okay. I had no idea what the characters were from. The cosplay was amazing. And I was shocked that people wanted me to sign cards for them and wanted to sign autographs. I'm still, every time I go to a convention, like, well, we'll sit down at this autograph table. We'll see if anybody's here. We'll see what happens. And there are people there, and they're so kind, and so they're so enthusiastic. And it never ceases to surprise me. So
well, like
that
I said,
was
you're a
incredible.
beast.
Well, thank you. I'm only I guess my beast-like status is only dependent on whether or not people give me the opportunity to work and give me the opportunity to be weird and creative all the time. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, but like the way I look at it is this, because like I understand that I mean, you're doing the voiceovers of something that's already existing, especially something that's from Japan. But you're also the voice of a character that no one say, like. I mean, this is your opportunity. This is your take of what this character is going to be and what people may be introduced to, especially in anime. Because like back in the days, I mean, prior to that, like, I mean, you got like the old school Akira and the old school other shows and stuff that they didn't really take dubbing as serious as what Funimation did. Funimation was basically like the start. I mean, there was ADV for a little bit with like Neon Genesis Evangelion and stuff, but Funimation really took it to a point where it was like, we need to focus on quality when it came to it. And what you definitely introduced with the roles that you've been playing is just like you were saying before, like you're afraid of disappointing the people that were of any of the roles that you're doing, but that's why you do it, you take it like 110%. So I kind of feel like when the way you take those roles so responsibly and so respectfully, that like it definitely shows and definitely introduces people to your skills. And like, because someone will say, "Hey, have you watched Boruto before?" It's like, "Oh, that's Cherami Leigh's character," and like you can't copy her. You can't copy her later on in the future.
Thank you so much. You know? I appreciate that very much. And you're right. I mean, Funimation has always been, and the other studios I've been fortunate to work with, Aniplex, Studiopolis, and beyond, they have always said, yes, we're dubbing, and it's a very technical process, but we don't want you to just do a copy and paste of what you hear. We hired actors because we want this to be real. We want it to feel authentic. And most of the time, with the dubbing process, they'll get the license, and the Japanese creative team will say, we want you to make this accessible for a Western audience, which means sometimes the jokes don't land the same. And we want you to take that freedom and make it work for people that have never had any experience watching the Japanese version, or would never watch anime otherwise. We want to expose them to anime this way to broaden the base and introduce more people to these stories. And I have loved getting to be a part of that process.
That's really, really cool. I mean, and that's only in the anime side. I mean, on the gaming side, it's even more. I mean, like, you're the voice of A2 from Nier Automata, one of my favorite games of all time and stuff. And you like, and it's just like it's actually kind of funny talking to you, because I'm like, wow, she was very moody, grizzled, and like, you know, worn out, and it's just how bright. And so, like, it's actually pretty funny. So it's pretty.
I was
surreal.
Actually terrified they were going to fire me on the first day of that job. I walked in wearing all black. I was like, I'm not going to smile. I had like, my hair is naturally straight. And so I just went in straight hair, didn't crack any jokes. And after like 2 sessions, I remember somebody from the production team, the studio that's worked with me before, they were like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm just trying to be cool, so they don't kick me out and say like, this is not what we hired. And they were like, please crack some jokes, have some fun. They think you hate it here. And I was like, no, I love it. And that was kind of the same vibe with Cyberpunk. V is very different from me. And I am naturally just a person that's like, I am just happy to be here. I'm excited. I'm ready to play. I'm ready to have fun. And there's definitely an element of that to V. But there was many times throughout where I was like, man, I will never be as much of a badass as this girl is. And so I've been very happy that people have responded well to her. I so love her. She's so cool. And it's nice to get all of that like aggression and tough, you know, I guess oftentimes violent words and emotions out, so that you don't have to express it in road rage on the way home. Like you feel very, very zen, and you can drive home, sit in traffic for 2 hours and just go, I'll play a nice song. It's not a foolproof situation. I can't say my road rage is completely under control, but
you live in California, so it's a little tough. So
yes.
I understand. Totally understand.
You'll be told you got to check like 3 different traffic apps, and then you just hope for the best. They'll all say 45 minutes, and it will take you an hour and a half to get there. And you're like, guys, I checked.
It's like, great.
What am I supposed to do?
Oh God, it's just nightmares. Every time I go there, it's just nightmares. But
so many things. There's so many great things about LA that I love, and then there's traffic.
oh God, yeah. You know what's actually funny when I think about LA? It's like the one place I hate going is downtown. Like I really hate going to the LA Convention Center, that area,
Yes.
because oh my God, the price, just the parking and all that stuff.
I hesitate to say this, but I know every voice actor would agree with me because we've all had conversations about this before. They might say, why would you share that information? But we all love getting to go to Anime Expo. We all love getting to see the fans. We all love getting to celebrate each other's work. We all love getting to watch. There's incredible panels. We love the entire experience. But the parking and the commute to get down there.
Nightmare.
It makes all of us, we're always like, guys, we're running 10 minutes late. Stall for me. We're trying to find parking. We're trying to, it is such a stressful process. And of course, once you're in and you're hanging out with everybody, you're like, this is such a fun weekend. But every time we've had Sailor Moon Day and we've gotten to do a Sailor Moon panel, we get there at like 9:00 in the morning and I will leave at like 6:30, 6:45 just to get there crazy early. And I'll know, okay, I'll just get some coffee next to the Staples Center. I'll walk over. I'll take my time. I'll do my makeup in the car. But the last couple of years I'm Ubering. I'm not going to look for parking and then stress about that. Looking for parking could be an hour alone.
And parking is like $30 or $40. It's insane.
It's insane. So I'm like, you know what? Paying for parking or getting the Uber, it's all going to equal out to be about the same price. I'm just going to do it. So we'll all carpool together and then Uber down there together. Safety in numbers.
It's a nightmare, especially the road. Like, and then where whoever was the bright idea to say we'll make that road one way. So like, so like
Always.
you can't do loop de loop, or you can't circle around because the traffic is so slow. It's just terrible
for most downtowns in cities. When I've gone to conventions, everybody is always like, "Oh, downtown," wherever they are. And I imagine that when the town was built, they were like, here's our courthouse. Everything will be here. And we'll have 2 streets. And then the town kept building. They're like, just add another street. It'll go the opposite direction. And so the downtown is like always the most confusing place ever.
Although, I don't know. Have you ever attended like New York with Anime Fest?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I love the Javits Center though. The Javits Center is great. Yeah. It's like,
we've never stayed whenever I've gone and a company has brought us out or the convention has brought us out, we've never stayed close to the Javits Center.
Yeah, you're like a mile or 2 miles away.
And we just walk and we'll all walk together. And
it's all good.
Yeah, and it's New York. It's safe to walk. Everybody's having fun. It's great.
It's just insane. I love like that like we were basically saying it's like saying LA be like New York, but it will never be.
They're 2 very different towns. There's moments where I'm in New York and I'm like, oh, I wish they had this aspect to like LA, and then I'm like, no, you've got your own spirit and vibe, and LA's got its own spirit and vibe. Dallas has its own spirit and vibe. And I feel like if they were too similar to each other, I would miss part of the charm.
That is true. That is very true. I will give it that. And I mean, I guess we're talking about conventions, so I guess it's a pretty good question here. And then, like, when you go to the conventions, I know you're a fan of museums and you like to go to different ones when you attend events. Like, what's one of the do you have any like favorite places you like to go to when you attend or when you get the chance?
Yeah. So I usually, if we can find time in the schedule, and I usually make it a point to carve out time in the schedule, I will try to go to a museum or to some sort of like educational place that lets me know a little bit about the city. In Seattle, we went to an underground tour of like underground Seattle, which was really, really interesting, really fascinating.
That's awesome.
That was really cool. When I was in Vegas, my favorite museum in Vegas, and one of my favorite museums ever is the Neon Museum, or the Neon Boneyard. And it is all neon signs of Vegas, old neon signs, and they put them around and you can walk around. The tour guides are incredible. And I think part of the reason why I loved the Seattle one, or I love getting to do museum tours, and certainly the one in Vegas, if the tour guide is knowledgeable and like entertaining when they're presenting the information, it makes such a difference in how you receive the stories and how excited you are. And those are two in particular that the tour guides are incredible. I love whenever I get to go to DC, I have to set aside time to go to any museum.
Nice.
The Holocaust Museum is such a harrowing experience, as it should be. But I think it is such an effective museum in really trying to help people understand with all of the senses kind of what that experience was like from the moment you walk in the door, which I mean, it's a hard museum to go through, but I recommend it to everyone because I think it's such a well created, well thought through museum experience. I love the Native American Museum, which is a part of the Smithsonian. So DC has incredible museums, as one would think.
I really want to go.
Those are some of my all time favorites. When my brother gets to go with me to DC, we are gonna do the Spy Museum, but I want to do that.
There's a Spy Museum? Wow.
There's a Spy Museum.
That's
very
crazy. Cool. I wanted to go. I was originally planning on taking the trip to DC last year, but because of I like to call it the 2020 experience, we basically had to put everything on hold. The Smithsonian is the one place I'm really wanting to check out. The aeronautics, the Space and Air Museum is one of the big ones. And it's
incredible. And how they each have their own unique vibe to them. I mean, they're very unique, different experiences. It's not like you walk into a museum and you think they all look the same. They're very different. When I was in
and
Chicago,
it's free, isn't it?
I believe it is.
Smithsonian's
I know
are.
Most of them. Yes, the Smithsonian is. I don't know if all of them are, but I know the Smithsonian is. One of my favorite museums that was very special, I got to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan in a convention. And my aunt, who passed away a few years ago, she was a curator at the Grand Rapids Art Museum. And so I got to walk through that museum where she would walk every day. So that is definitely like an all-time favorite of mine. It was such a cool experience going, this is where she was every day. This is where she'd get coffee. And I kind of got to go through her day, which was really fun.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really nice. I like that. Just want to know, kind of going back to your career though, but
sure,
given your own personality, what role would you say is the complete opposite of you that you've done?
So I used to say when I worked on Bones, I did one episode of Bones, and that character, I was like, when I read the script, I was like, I'm not getting this job. I don't connect with this character at all. And I got the job and I was terrified because then I was like, how am I going to do this? I didn't connect with the script and I got hired.
Who'd you play in Bones?
I was in an episode called Spark in the Park. I played a character named Rachel who may or may not have been guilty of causing bodily harm to another human being. And it was a very hard episode to work on. But it ended up being one of my most favorite experiences because I was so stressed and so anxious about doing a great job and making sure that they knew that they picked the right person. And I felt really inadequate and incapable of doing the job. And I remember the director, who Chad Lowe was directing that episode. I remember in one of the scenes, he's like, just let go. You got it. And I was so exasperated and so stressed that I just took a deep breath. And I do not remember doing the take that they ended up using in the episode. And then weeks later, I think it might have been years later, I was talking to someone. I was like, yeah, I have no idea why I got cast in that. I'm nothing like that character. And then they said, well, she was she was very much a perfectionist who loved her craft and did not feel like she could trust people because she'd been hurt in the past. and she felt really stressed and very unworthy. And I was like, oh no, there are aspects of that I definitely connected to. I would like to say, and I really do believe this, that I would never go as far as to harm or kill someone. But there have been moments where the desire to do something so well and to be so frustrated with myself that I'm not living up to expectations, or I don't feel like I'm doing a good enough job, that it gets me really angry at myself, and I kind of box myself into a corner of just feeling so depressed and sad and hopeless. So that's been a character that I didn't feel like I connected with. And when I think back to characters that I go, oh, this character is very different from me. Yeah, it's very different from what I exude on a regular basis. But when I start thinking about the emotions and the things that character deals with, I definitely deal with that in some shape, form, or fashion. I just don't express it. And so I'm very grateful to those characters, because it kind of helps all of that stuff that I experience come to the surface, so I can look at it and go, oh, that's there. Oh, you feel a lot of pain regarding this. Let's fix this. And I think if I was nothing like that character, or there wasn't something that I could learn from or gain from it, I wouldn't get cast. It would go to somebody else who would be able to have that sort of experience with the essence of a character. But that was one that in the beginning I was like, what am I going to do? I don't connect with this character at all.
That's cool though. I mean, you definitely did something right though. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, so I think you're putting too much pressure on yourself on some of these things.
Always. That is probably the mantra that I have heard the most from people, as they go, Cherami, you're really hard on yourself. Just like take a breath. You're doing okay. Which I'll say to other people all day long. I just got to remind myself of that.
Okay, well that's cool though. I mean, and excuse me. And I mean, and you have like a very diverse palette of like, type of all the type of characters that you played, and like from moody to very ditzy. I mean, you're just all over the place when it comes to that. You have like do you have like a secret on how you get in the mood on your characters? Because frankly, it's quite amazing. Like one episode you're like this, you're like A2, and then the next episode you're Lucy Heartfelia, and it's like, oh my god, it's like, why is she like, it's night and day difference,
Well,
I mean,
thank you.
Is there anything that you do?
Well, I think it's just a natural thing that we do as people. That certainly I do as a person, is you have different facets of your personality that you're like, well, I'll show this version of myself to this group of people, because this is the version of me that they love and accept the easiest, and I'll show this version of my personality. So I think that training of like how to present yourself in different situations definitely helps make it a little bit easier to jump into one character without showing another side. Certainly, I love getting to play a wide variety of characters, especially when I get to do it in the same day. Like I just feel like I get to do the whole spectrum of emotion, which is fun. But a lot of things that inform the writing informs it. The character design informs it. If I'm dubbing an anime, certainly the animation and what they're doing and how they're responding to situations, what their facial expressions are doing, how the other people in the scene are responding. And I think once I talk to the director, once I talk to the producer, and I kind of figure out what they want for this character in the arc of the series or the game or the film or whatever the case is, then I like just absorb it, say, okay, how do I as Cherami respond to that? And what does that look like for me? And usually that's why we audition for everything. We will process that. We do the audition. And if they say, yep, this person got the right vibe that we're looking for, that fits with the vibe of all the other people we cast, then the hard part and the most fun part is to get out of your own way of trying to isolate or control every situation, every scene, every line, and just like live in the moment, be present, and play. And what's great about being an actor in the process, it's a collaborative process, hopefully. And the director will say, "Oh, I loved that. Can we try this?" Or the other actor in the scene gave a very unique read, and they said, "Actually, this is a cool thing that this actor did. So let's try to balance off of that." So it's a fun molding of the clay and listening to them and playing and figuring out what works and what doesn't in that moment. So how I make the switch is really just getting out of my way of needing to control the situation and do my best and allow all of the other factors to help me mold the performance that works best.
That is cool. All right. Well, that's good. I love that answer. That's great. And last question here. Is there a dream role, or is there, I mean, it could be something that happened already or something that you're looking, something that you're wanting to play if the opportunity gives it. Is there a dream role that you always wanted to play?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky to have a couple dream roles, some that I didn't realize were dream roles until I did them. One thing that I really wanted to do, and I would love to be able to write a series and or a film and produce and star in it. It would be really cool to get to do like a historical fiction sort of piece. And I think that would be really fun. Another project that I really wanted to do, and thankfully we did a Kickstarter and the fans kickstarted the project. We did confessionals, and I got to work on camera with a bunch of my friends that are voice actors, and my husband wrote the episodes. And it was a fun thing. We enjoyed working on it. The fans were very, very supportive of it. But it was an additional level of like a pat on the back when we submitted it to a web series festival, and we got so many nominations. And so it's nice when a community that doesn't know the anime industry, that doesn't know voiceover at all, loved it just for being a web series, and they felt that it stood on its own. So that was really cool, getting to produce and create from behind the camera and in front of the camera, and get to create more opportunities. So that would be a really fun thing to get to do. I also have been doing a couple years ago, I did a web series episodic project called Love and Light on an app called Unlocked, and we did that for 3 years. We did like daily affirmation videos, and I loved getting to do that because finding ways to kind of reset and look at the world in a way that gives me intent and a way to go through when life is hard, help me be present, help me stay focused. I love doing that, and it was really cool to get to see that I wasn't the only one. That was something that I was very hesitant to share, and everyone responded to it really well. And so this past month I was like, I'm going to do it again. We'll see if we can get it up on Patreon and if people want it, and then we'll keep working on it. And everybody has been so supportive and responded really well to it, and I'm enjoying getting to do that. So you find the dream roles when they show up in your inbox, and you go, I didn't even know this was a thing. This was possible. This is what I've always wanted to do. It's crazy.
It's like I didn't even know I wanted it until I just saw it in my inbox.
With Sailor Moon, never knew that I could even dream that I could work on Sailor Moon. Never knew that I could even dream to be in a show like Fairy Tail and Sword Art Online that would have hundreds of episodes, that I would get to. I never knew that working in anime and dubbing was a job, and that people would want me to go to a convention in Australia or Japan or New Zealand or Ireland to hang out with people. Didn't know that was a dream job, but I've been able to live that dream job, and I'm so thankful.
That's awesome. That's great. Hey, Cherami, thank you so much for geeking out with me this episode. Really appreciate it. It was so awesome to talk to you. Whoa. Excuse me.
Of course. It's so cold in your poor apartment. You'll have to get some hot tea and like curl up with a blanket.
Yes. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Anything that's coming up that you could announce? I know with TDAs and stuff, it's kind of stuff, but Is there anything?
so many things that I have to keep quiet currently. Bless you. I am doing Sakura Wars that is on Funimation's website now. A film that I just realized came out that I worked on. I finished working on it on my birthday last year in quarantine. Morona's Fantastic Adventure was a very fun film to work on. I worked on the English dub of Losing Alice on Apple TV. And a couple of course, Cyberpunk 2077 is out. And my Patreon page, Love and Light. So I'm trying to get more present on social media. My Instagram is CLK Star and my Twitter is Cherami Leigh. I've found over the last year when stuff gets really chaotic and stressful and heavy outside in the real world, the way I respond to it is by reading a bunch of books, reading articles, journaling, and like becoming a little hermit in my little cave and trying to learn as much as I can. But then I realize, oh, wow, it looks like you've just disappeared off the face of the earth because during this quarantine process, we can't see each other in person.
Right,
so
exactly.
trying to be very mindful about balancing my need to like be a hermit and learn and try to grow and process everything, but also still interact with the rest of the world that is also feeling very separate from each other. So it's all about balance.
I know what you mean on that. Like, I think the biggest thing that I kind of got from this is because we usually like to do interviews and stuff at events. Personally, I never liked doing that because the events is very like, it's speed. It's like you have to be on the go all the time. Yeah. So, but the thing I've kind of learned from the pandemic alone is like I love these kind of conversations because it's like we have stuff to do, but at the same time we actually have more to actually discuss, kind of more casual at home level, that kind of thing. So
absolutely.
So yeah. So, but it's like, see, I wouldn't even like if I saw you, I'd probably get like 15 minutes as opposed to the hour, though.
Because usually, like you said, at events, the people organizing the events will say like, okay, we're going to block out X amount of time for interviews. And so then they say like, well, how many people want to interview this person? Okay, we'll break up that amount of time that we've allocated for them. And so sometimes if it's a busy weekend and a project has just come out and there's a lot of people that want to talk about it, they're like 5 minutes. I've had some conventions where they'll say, we're putting you all into a room together and it'll be like a press room. Yeah. We'll do like a little junket. Everybody gets like 2 questions. Oh, I love getting to talk to everybody because every person has their unique interpretation and their unique personal experience in the way that they've responded to material and different things that they have been more interested in. And so it's so hard to tell people like, what's the one question or the 2 questions that mean the most? It seems so unfair. You love getting to talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I remember like the one junket I remember that made me so mad. I was like, I'm never doing junkets again. Was I went to AX. I think it was AX in 2016 or so, and I don't even know who it was. Was it Spiral Cats? Either Spiral Cats or Kill a Kill. I can't remember what it was, but like and so we went to the junket. Oh no, it was Spiral Cats. It was definitely. So we go to the junket. There's a group of people that are going to ask questions, and then they come and tell us that we can't use the audio for any of the interview at all. Yeah. So they said, oh, you could script it, but we don't want you to use the audio. No. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, why would you tell us this like 5 minutes before? Like, yeah. So I was kind of salty when it comes to, so I was like, okay, no more.
So you couldn't even record it even for notes.
Well, we recorded it for notes and then we scripted it, but then like these junkets are like an hour long. So it's kind of like, and so you or it's an hour to 30 minutes. So it's kind of like you have to skip or you have to like place mark exactly where you were wanting or what you're wanting, and it's more work. So I was just like, this was a little too much. It's like, I like Spiral Cats, I just don't appreciate what they're like. I don't think it was them, but it was more like it. Yeah. Yeah, so but it was all good. But the digressing. But Cherami, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you.
As always, it was great to talk to you. And guys, thank you for stopping by, checking us out on Pop Culture Gems. You can always check us out on any of the social media. I'm sorry, not social media, but our podcast services: Apple, Google Podcast, Stitcher Radio, or go to see the video interview of this on our YouTube channel, the CFG channel. And we will be doing some more awesome interviews like Cherami. So once again, this is Davis signing off. Y'all take it easy. Alrighty, cool.